more to the point of the CPC's bad campaign, like I agree with that. Apple eating Pierre was a good, edgy balance for Canada. He could be combative, but he could be sophisticated. And I guess that's really all I'm getting at, is you need to be combative and sophisticated.
And what happened was dropped, it was over.
Yeah, no, I mean, he became talking point CPC. Like all the things that made Pierre a good, effective leader, which is his oration, his ability to argue on the fly and deal with things off the cuff. That's what you got to have in a leader. They got to be free to just engage, especially if they can speak English and they're very good and knowledgeable and they care. Don't script them. Trump drifts off script all the time, and he appeals to Americans in the way that he does it. Poilievre appealed to a greater degree or a greater segment of Canada by being sophisticated and combative at the same time. When talking point smiling guy trying to convince the boomers that he was a good guy came out, he looked fake because he was fake. That's not who he is. That's a scripted act. And people saw through it. And sure, the Conservative Party, they did get the largest vote share they've ever achieved in an election, and that is somewhat of an accomplishment. But it looks like a high watermark from where I'm sitting now, with the bottom of the Conservative belly falling out, with one guy crossing the floor, another guy resigning. And I don't think we're done with that saga just yet.
No.
If they can avoid an election and cobble together a majority, the big red machine is going to sell it to the Canadian public. And when I say the Canadian public, I'm speaking of Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and the lower mainland of BC. They're going to, in Quebec City and pretty much the Maritimes. There's some people in rural Ontario who get it. They're going to sell it to the public as necessary compromises for saving the country from Donald Trump. Even as we coordinate, I've been covering this on my channel, talking about how when it comes to Tether and stablecoin regulation in Canada, there's high-level coordination between the United States and Canada. We're going to basically copy the Genius Act. We want to be compliant with the Americans. So there is this ongoing relationship that is being developed. Carney and Trump, I think, have some kind of an understanding, but there's this public farce that's going on. And I mean, Carney apologized to Donald Trump. He made Doug Ford look like a fool.
Yeah,
and nobody really noticed this.
David Eby. Because David Eby,
yeah, of course.
Also, he promised that he was going to make another ad from British Columbia, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and like, you know, I haven't, with all the things there are to talk about, I've never even gotten around to revisiting that fact that Carney apologized. He admitted it happened. He basically threw Doug Ford under the bus again. Doug Ford, this man, every time he tries to be a hero, standing aside Ottawa, he gets thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
The Europeans used to do the same thing to Trudeau. It's like I'm watching Carney do to Ford what the Europeans used to do to Trudeau. They'd get him all drunked up over there. When he went to one of these junkets, he'd go to like the World Economic Forum or whatever. They'd literally get him drunked up. They'd talk him up behind the scenes because there's all this hot mic footage that was leaked from these things. And they're like building him up to do the press conferences, to deliver the message the European wants. And then once he goes home, the Europeans and the Americans sign a deal and cut him out. And that's what's happening with Ford and Carney. Like he's such a useful idiot, but he is very popular in Ontario. And that's why I'm not there anymore, because it's a Gordian knot. I don't know how you cut it. And it's the Gordian
popular still, even after all of this stuff that he's doing.
He's one of the highest approval ratings in the country for a provincial premier.
Unbelievable.
Buddy. I'm telling you, it's Ontario. I'm telling you. And again, millions of people are in Ontario. I'm not talking about all of you, but I mean, we were outnumbered when I was there. We're outnumbered. You know, it's almost to the point where you got to get out, because Orange Man bad, Doug Ford good, Doug Ford actually conservative, Doug Ford because it would be worse if we had the Liberals. Literally wouldn't. It'd be no different. He spent $500 million on gender unicorns and DEI ideology, shoving it down your kids' throats. I remember before I moved, one of the last times I was there, I went and parked in a very small town. It was on a weekend, very small town Ontario parking lot at a school, because we had to change the baby's diaper or something. And we're sitting there, and there's the flag. The transgender rainbow flag is flying on top of this kindergarten to grade 6 public school. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what is this? This is Doug Ford's Ontario. This is 2022. He's already had 4 years. Nothing changed. If I was still living there, I would have voted for Bonnie Crombie. I literally would have voted Liberal, or I would have voted NDP. It's more honest. Or I would have voted New Blue or one of the lesser parties, but it's irrelevant because I wasn't there. But like,
so I'd like to add to that. You know, it would be better off actually if it was Liberal. I hate, you know, people are going to kick at me for saying this, but it would be better off because there would be more dissent if it was a Liberal. If there was a Liberal in office, there would be more people pushing back against what he's doing, but they're not, because at least he's not a Liberal, right?
And it would repudiate the approach. If Doug Ford can't win by being a soft centrist, then the PC party might actually have to consider its approach. I thought the CPC was doing that. I mean, they went through Andrew Scheer, who I actually think, you know, in retrospect, I think Scheer's a good guy. I just don't think he was equipped to be leader. And then they had Aaron O'Toole
gloating about like having the favor of the dairy lobby at his when they won the nomination. He came out with a carton of milk. That was a real touch.
It's so crazy because that milk, it all had to do with Bernier. It all had to do with making fun of him. It all had to do with the chapter of his book that was released. But when you realize that the leader of the Conservative Party was drinking milk on stage that got in his hand because a fake issue gained popularity. So the fake chapter from the fake book that never existed. So that chapter was written by one of Bernier's men in the background. There was never a book. The whole thing was fake political orchestration, and yet somehow it led to Andrew Scheer with that thing. It was all so fake and synthetic. Everything that's ever come out of the CPC has been fake and synthetic until perhaps Pierre Poilievre. That was the promise. He's the chosen one. There's no one else. Like, where else is the CPC going to go? Who else they got that's got that kind of draw? But he somehow managed to put himself in a leash and became talking point Pierre, and it's not good enough. And you know, you have to start delivering the bad news to the Canadian public, and then you got to go and fight for it. You have to argue it. You got to make the debates. I think of Donald Trump in one of his first press conferences back in 2015. He had Jorge Ramos, which was a Univision reporter, in the room. Jorge wouldn't shut up. He kept talking about how humans can't be illegal, and he's doing all this, you know, this protesting stuff instead of being a journalist. And Trump sicked security on him, kicked him out of the room. So then they went on with the press conference for another 5 minutes, and then Trump invited him back in, proceeded to debate him for 7 minutes. I never seen anything like it in my life. It sticks in my head as one of my greatest political memories. I watched him take apart Jorge Ramos, and they called him a racist, and they did all this stuff, and he won his election. There's room in Canada for that type of approach. It's not going to be a guy from Manhattan with that accent talking the way that Donald Trump does. It's going to be something different because it has to be. There's only one Trump, but you got to start doing it. And talking point Pierre can't do it.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more clips like that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. The link is right here. If you want to see it live as it happens, make sure you subscribe to the Clyde Do Something YouTube channel. The link is right there. We'll see you in the next one.